Now, I know that my channel has a lot of subscribers who are what we would call coincidence theorists. These are people who, when they see a coincidence, the first thing they think is nothing at all. They don't even notice that there's a coincidence. But if somebody points out to them, hey, did you notice that little coincidence? They're the kind of people who'll say, it's just a coincidence. Who cares? Who cares? Just a coincidence. That's all it is in their minds. And that is perfectly acceptable because coincidences do happen. What I'm going to do today is show you guys 3 coincidences which leads me to suspect that something very big is on the horizon with the Bitcoin price. And look at this, $13,850 US for a Bitcoin. It just gets crazier and crazier and crazier. So let's get through these 3 coincidences and then you decide if you think these are just coincidences or if you think that maybe there might be something more to it. So let's take a look here. Firstly, I don't watch The Big Bang Theory on TV. I don't watch any of these modern sitcoms. I used to watch a lot of Seinfeld and The Simpsons and this kind of thing. These days I don't really watch TV other than for sport, and even then, not as much as I used to, I have to confess. But enough about me, more about The Big Bang Theory. It turns out that last week they had an episode dedicated to Bitcoin. Can you believe this? In fact, the episode is called The Bitcoin Entanglement. And I'm not going to play this little clip here. I'm not going to risk any copyright problems. But apparently what happens is that somebody transferred their Bitcoin over onto a Batman flash drive. And of course, they're talking in a comic book store here. So it's not too much of a surprise to see a Batman right there in the background. But what took my fancy was the episode. It was episode number 9 from season number 11. And of course, there's a lot of people out there who, amazingly enough, think that maybe what happened on 9/11 was not what we were told happened. There are these people out there who think that maybe 9/11 was a made-for-TV movie.
Dude, I live on the 43rd floor of a building which is 5 blocks from the World Trade Center itself. I witnessed the entire thing from beginning to end.
People talk about how it looked like a movie. I know when I came walking down here early this morning and saw both towers on fire and people on every street corner, it was like a movie, but you watched the planes hit the towers.
I was watching with my roommate. It was approximately several minutes after the first plane had hit. I saw this plane come out of nowhere and just ream right into the side of the Twin Tower, exploding through the other side. And then I witnessed both towers collapse, one first and then the second, mostly due to structural failure because the fire was just too intense. And then I witnessed both towers collapse, one first and then the second, mostly due to structural failure because the fire was just too intense. Mostly due to structural failure because the fire was just too intense.
Yeah, I can't believe that such people could think that the people who run the show could use television to fool the masses so blatantly and get away with it. There's so many smart people out there who would stop them. How could they get away with putting on a made-for-TV movie and pretending that planes went into the buildings? It's hard to believe. Now you might say, well, that's just, episode number 9, season number 11. That's what is that the coincidence? Well, in a way, because if you look at other TV shows, season 9, episode 11, or vice versa, sometimes these coincidences almost become multi-layered. I'll give you an example. In The Simpsons, their season 9, episode 11 is an episode called All Singing, All Dancing. In fact, let me bring it up on my browser right now. Now, you might be familiar with this episode. It's like a clip show where they took a lot of the songs from earlier seasons, early episodes, and parlayed them all into one episode, if I can put it like that. What's interesting is that one of the songs they took was the Monorail song. And of course, the episode of the Monorail is the episode where we see what looks like a building World Trade Center in a picture frame on the monorail. Again, these are just coincidences. I'm not trying to suggest that anybody had any foreknowledge or anything like that. But these are just coincidences. So the point being that The Simpsons in their season 9 episode 11 had a flaming World Trade Center. And here we have, in the middle of this massive Bitcoin spike, we have season number 11 episode 9. Just a coincidence, of course. I'm not suggesting otherwise on this particular example. But I thought you might find that interesting, and you have to forgive me if you don't like The Big Bang Theory, if you're one of those people who dislike the show. Trust me, it was painful enough to just sit through and watch this 4 minutes. It was painful. How people can sit there and watch this crap, I have no idea. Just a little Easter egg, by the way. Is that an eclipse that he's wearing on his shirt? Anyway, moving on. The other coincidence, or one of the other coincidences that I've noticed with this Bitcoin sudden price rise, let's just go back to this screen here. One of the other things I've noticed is that Bitcoin holders and believers and proponents, they constantly talk about Bitcoin going to the moon. It's going to go to the moon. Bitcoin to the moon, they say. And I mean, you can't really argue with them. It's going, poof, look at that, going gangbusters, crazy stuff. But what gets me with this phraseology is that anybody who is objective and who is willing to think for themselves, so we're talking about a small percentage of the population here, but of those people who are both objective and willing to think for themselves, they'll look at photos like this one on your screen right now, and they'll notice that they're looking at what is obviously a load of nonsense. In fact, let me bring that photo up right now. So let's take a look at this, just on my little photo viewer here. This is an official photo from NASA, and this is the lunar module that, two men on the moon survived in for 36 hours, I believe. And this is it. This is the bad boy, the lunar module. Now, when you zoom in on it, if you're being honest, and just being objective about the whole thing, it's hard not to notice that it looks like something that a bunch of high school kids have put together for a project in their school hall. I mean, look at this. What is this? Aluminium foil, and look at these panels. I mean, why are the panels all wobbly? You know what I mean? It's just very. What? And these are the things that maneuvered the module around, are they? I mean, it's just. I'm not trying to prove anything here. I'm just saying. I mean, I understand a lot of people actually believe that this thing housed two men for 36 hours on the moon, and they think it's all real. I get that. If you believe that, I'm not trying to change your mind, but. I mean, for those of us who know better, I mean, this is just silly. What are they using here? Broomsticks? Those look like they've just taken broomsticks, taken the broom head off the end of it, and just pasted them together. In fact, I was looking at this the other day. I could have sworn I found some sticky tape. I mean, look at this. Look at this stuff. Goodness gracious me. I mean, what's this? That looks just like duct tape, doesn't it? Duct tape. Goodness gracious me. What's this? It's all a bit of a joke, really, if you ask me. Now, again, I know many of you who are watching this video, you believe that this thing went to the moon, and that's totally cool. Who knows? Maybe you're right, and maybe I'm crazy. Maybe. I'm open-minded to that. But to those of us who are not so easily fooled, I mean, this is just a silly, silly thing. It's like a joke. It's almost like going to the moon is a joke. And then you think about this Bitcoin terminology. They're saying, oh, we're going to the moon, but it's like, no one's ever been to the moon. No one's ever gone to the moon, bro. So you think that Bitcoin's going to the moon, but what you're really saying is that you're going nowhere. And I find that interesting. Now, one final thing that I think some of you guys might like. This is an Illuminati card game card. And there's two different types of Illuminati card game. And then among the two types of game, there's several different releases of cards, so they didn't all come out at the same time. The one that you're looking at right now, this is Digital Currency, came out in 2010, if memory serves me correctly. Whereas Bitcoin itself seems to have come out about 2009, I think was when the domain was registered. But anyway, have a look at this. It says Digital Currency, our new banking technology lets us steal faster than ever before. Oh, well, that's an interesting Illuminati card game card. Now, a lot of people who are not familiar with the Illuminati card game, they'll be like, well, so what? It's just a card game and, it's what... Who cares? And that's fair enough. That is a fair enough thing to believe. Honestly, I'm not being sarcastic this time. That is a fair enough thing to believe. That's what I used to believe as well. And I could be persuaded back to that way of thinking. Let me show you something, however, that might change your mind about the significance or otherwise of this card game. These are some cards from one of the early releases In fact, the mid-1990s was when these two cards came out as part of the Illuminati New World Order game, which is a little bit different to the one that we were just looking at, but the same basic idea in many ways. And you can see here that junk bonds, it's not the principle of the thing, it's the money. A scandal rocks the financial community. No bank group, no matter who owns it, may use this action token, blah, blah, blah. Junk bonds, you guys know what junk bonds are. Here you go, I'll sell you a junk bond, it's worth nothing, give me the money, see you later. You get the idea. Now, junk bonds were at the heart of the savings and loan scam. The savings and loan scam, yes. And you can see here on this Illuminati card, they've got what looks like the front of a bank, but it's being propped up by those same broomsticks that we saw earlier with the lunar module, if you ask me. So we've got an Illuminati card game that says savings and loan scam, and we've got a junk bonds card that's talking about junk bonds being worth nothing. And of course, both of those two things were true. And I don't know, is it just me, or does this guy look a little bit like Michael Milken, who is considered the father, the grandfather, the big daddy of the junk bond? Is it just me, or do they look similar? I think they look kind of similar. Could be a coincidence, of course. But Michael Milken actually is worth like $3 or $4 billion today, according to the official story, according to Forbes or whoever's in charge of this stuff, despite the fact that he was supposedly imprisoned for the junk bonds savings and loan scam for his part in all of it. He supposedly did some hard time in the big house, but now he's a multi-billionaire. So it's almost as though these Illuminati card games, if you didn't know better, it's almost as though they kind of are putting the truth in plain sight, so to speak. And they're taking the piss out of those people who refuse to look at what's on the card and think that maybe, just maybe, there is some validity to all of this.
Then I witnessed both towers collapse, one first and then the second, mostly due to structural failure because the fire was just too intense.
So if we go back to our Illuminati card game for digital currency, it says our new banking technology lets us steal faster than ever before. That's very interesting. That is very, very interesting. Well, anyway, those are the coincidences that I wanted to bring up with regards to Bitcoin. And you might be thinking, well, what are we to make of all of this, JLB? I'm open-minded. I'm willing to listen to what you have to say, but you haven't really made it clear what you're trying to say here. And I'm actually not trying to lead you to any conclusions. I'm just putting these out there, giving you a chance to think about them for yourself. So you come to whatever conclusion you think is appropriate based on these coincidences, which is all they are. Digital currency. Hey, whoever made the game might have heard of Bitcoin really early and made the card. Hey, season 11, episode 9 of The Big Bang Theory, which is apparently a very popular show. Hey, they mention Bitcoin. They've got a whole episode about Bitcoin and about people losing their Bitcoins and getting no money. Hey, the Bitcoin phrase for making money is going to the moon, but anybody who has grown out of believing in television and just going with the herd has realized that no one ever went to the moon, and it's a joke. So these are just a few little coincidences that I put together, and I thought I would share them with you. What you do with them is entirely up to you. What I will say is that there's two topics that you might be interested in if you're watching this video and you've made it all the way to the end. You might be interested in the topic of Bitcoin. And if you are, you can just go to my Bitcoin topic here. Let's take a quick little look, shall we? I've actually released a few articles for part members, which is free. All you have to do is send me an email to say that you're not a robot, and I'll hook you up with a part membership. And I've got a few pieces there that you might find interesting where I go into a more serious analysis of Bitcoin and crowd psychology and people like Gustave Le Bon. So, and also Tether. I explain how Tether works and why it's relevant, all these kinds of things. So if you'd like to take a look at that, you can. And then also the Illuminati card game, which we were just discussing before. I showed you a couple of cards that you might find interesting. Well, I've actually got a 14-part analysis, and I am making the first few parts of it available already. So if you're interested in this Illuminati card game, a proper analysis of it, not just saying that this card proves this or this card proves that, but taking a look at a few cards and seeing what's actually going on, then johnlebon.com might be right up your alley. But guys, it's 30 degrees today and I haven't got the air conditioner on, and that's Celsius, by the way, and I'm getting very warm here, so it's time to wrap this video up. Where's Bitcoin going? I don't know, but take a look at this, guys. Look at that. In just the time that we've been watching, it's gonna hit 14,000. Watch this. Go on, do it. While we're on camera, go on, do it. Do it. Here we go. Oh, yep. Guys, this is gonna happen while I'm recording. We're about to hit 14,000 USD. Go on. Go on. Come on. Come on. Up. There we go, guys. Just hit 14,000. Goodness gracious me. What are the odds of that while I was recording this video? But it really is time for me to go now, my friends. So check the links in the info box below. Check the links in the comments. And let me know what you think about all of these amazing coincidences. And that will do us for today on the 7th of December 2017. To all of you Bitcoin hodlers out there, I wish you the best of luck. Hopefully you can cash out in time before the big crash. And to the rest of you who didn't buy Bitcoin, I'm definitely not here to tell you what to do with your money. What I'm here to do is go and get a glass of water because I am struggling. You guys take care, and yeah, I've even stuffed up my little goodbye, didn't I? Boy oh boy, what a time to be alive.